So we're here with Joe Gallina, the founder of the Call to Activism legal newsletter. And less than 24 hours after he was gagged in the hush money case, Trump just sent out these two Truth Social posts attacking the judge and his daughter. Quote, Judge Juan Merchan, who is suffering from an acute case of Trump derangement syndrome, whose daughter represents crooked Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, Adam Shifty Schiff, and other radical liberals, has just posted a picture of me behind bars. Her obvious goal, and make it completely impossible for me to get a fair trial, has now issued another illegal, un-American, unconstitutional order as he continues to try and take away my rights. This judge, by issuing a vicious gag order, is wrongfully attempting to deprive me of my First Amendment right to speak out against the weaponization of law enforcement, including the fact that crooked Joe Biden, Merrick Garland, and their hacks and thugs are tracking and following me across the country, obsessively trying to persecute me while everyone knows I've done nothing wrong. He then proceeded to say, so let me get this straight. The judge's daughter is allowed to post pictures of her, quote, dream of putting me in jail. The Manhattan DA is able to say whatever lies about me he wants. The judge can violate our laws and Constitution at every turn, but I'm not allowed to talk about the attacks against me and the lunatics trying to destroy my life and prevent me from winning the 2024 presidential election, which I am dominating. Maybe the judge is such a hater because his daughter makes money by working to, quote, get Trump. And when he rules against me over and over again, he is making her company and her richer and richer. How can this be allowed? So Joe, these string of Truth Social posts come less than 24 hours after the judge imposed a gag order on the former president. Does this violate the gag order? And if not, can he amend it?
So first of all, he could always amend it. I think that there's a very good likelihood that Judge Merchan is going to expand the gag order to not only include himself, but members of his family. But first of all, let's go over what the gag order actually covered. So the gag order basically says that Donald Trump will face consequences if he doesn't refrain from either attacking witnesses, potential witnesses, jurors and potential jurors, and also court staff and individual prosecutors. The reason why it's a limited gag order is that Judge Merchan when he carves this out, he has to take into account a defendant's First Amendment rights. In this case, he actually was giving Donald Trump the benefit by not including himself or his family members in this gag order and keeping it limited. And here we see that Donald Trump is someone who can't be trusted, who doesn't care about the rule of law, and is going to do whatever he can to either cause harm or call for harm for the people that are trying to hold him accountable. Secondly, I think that this is just another example of how dangerous Donald Trump is, because there is no, and I repeat, absolutely no reason Donald Trump would want to attack a judge's daughter than to put her in harm's way. And that's what he does. He uses these whistles and bells, and he uses these secret ways of talking to his own people, and it ends up causing just wreaking havoc, just like January 6th. And that's what we're seeing. We're seeing a former president attack a civilian. This daughter has nothing to do with this trial. It's an absolute disgrace, and it puts her in harm's way with these disgusting Truth Social posts.
Yeah, we've seen his Truth Social posts turn into threats against Judge Engoron. His words clearly have consequences, and his supporters see his posts and often, turn those into threats. I remember Judge Engoron got a package with white powder, which ended up being nothing. He gets various threats because of Trump's words. Do you expect then that the judge, in order to just protect his own family from the former president and his supporters, will amend this gag order? And is it possible to construe the gag order when it says court staff to include the judge, or do you think he'll have to be more explicit?
Typically speaking, we've seen a lot of legal experts look at this in the past. Judge Engoron's also referred to court staff, and it was interpreted not to include the judge. I think that's true in this case, but I think that Judge Merchan really has a necessity here to analyze this, because I think Donald Trump will continue to skirt the line, and he'll continue to put people at risk, and he's going to just do exactly whatever he can to get around this gag order and still accomplish his goal of playing victim and also putting people in harm's way. So I think that this is a real wake-up call. I think Judge Merchan now knows who he's dealing with, and I think that he needs to amend his gag order immediately so that this stops. The other thing here is that Donald Trump knows what he's doing in this regard, and so should the judge. This is not the first time that Donald Trump has done this. This is now the second case. This is now the third case, rather, where Donald Trump is threatening members of the court or their family. I remind you that he did the same thing with Judge Chutkan. He did the same thing with Judge Engoron. Now he's doing it with Judge Merchan. And we've seen what happened. Just like you said, there's been anthrax threats to Judge Engoron. Judge Engoron's court staff member had been targeted with death threats. This is very serious. It's very dangerous. And Donald Trump needs to be stopped. He's going to continue to do this until someone is dead.
Do you think does this affect his trial in any way? I know the judge has set an April 15th trial date.
Well, I could say that Judge Merchan is a good judge, and I think that he's going to remain as impartial as he possibly can, but it is not quite the most wise thing to do to attack your own judge and his family. I think it's rather stupid, and we're going to see how it plays out. I think that Judge Merchan has already indicated that he's not going to deal with Donald Trump's stunts. Here we have, another effort by his attorneys to try to delay the trial by months. They wanted a few months delay to go over evidence, and Judge Merchan wasn't having it. He said, absolutely not. They didn't speak up early enough, and that he saw no reason why they needed to delay the trial. And now it's going to start April 15 when jury starts being selected. So I think Judge Merchan has already shown that he's not willing to be sort of messed around with. I think that today was unfortunate. I think he gave Donald Trump just a little bit too much leeway, and Donald Trump showed him who he was. And I think that this can only stand to hurt Donald Trump moving forward, because Judge Merchan has no reason to let Donald Trump walk on him. So we'll see how it plays out.
If you're Trump's lawyers right now, what are you telling him? I mean, you would think they'd be telling him, keep your mouth shut.
I think Donald Trump's lawyers realized a really long time ago that there's not telling Donald Trump much, and he's not going to listen to them. I doubt that his attorneys want him to be smearing the judge of the case on Truth Social, and especially the members of the judge's family. So, and I also want to say on the record, I would never be caught dead being a lawyer for Donald Trump. But in this case, I think the best they could do is hope that Donald Trump keeps his mouth shut. I think that's the best thing that they could hope for. He's hurting his case, obviously, by attacking the judge. And I think that he's only getting more and more extreme and more dangerous as Donald Trump gets closer and closer to facing accountability. Even his speeches have gotten more dark in tone and more extreme. I think that there's questions about Donald Trump's mental state as we speak. And I think that there's questions about how what's going on in his mind. And I think that that's coming out even in his reaction to these issues in court.
Yeah, you saw him when he went into court a couple days ago. He, on his way into court, attacked the judge. While he was on his way into court, then compared himself to Jesus and the persecution of Jesus, then came out and gave a press conference saying that the judge needed to be investigated. He's then gagged, and less than 24 hours later, he's pushing the judge again, attacking him and his family on Truth Social. It's really remarkable. Joe, we would love to have you back. Once again, Joe Gallina, the founder of the Call to Activism legal newsletter, a great legal correspondent for us. Joe, thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me, Justin.